Hi everybody, this is Judy Garza with CreativityRelease.com coming to you tonight from Victoria, Texas. I'm glad you joined me, and we're going to be using the Best Year bundle that is in the new annual catalog. And with no further ado, I'm going to show you the card we're going to create and see what you have to say about that. Let me see. Okay, here's the card. And as you can see, it's a Christmas card. I know it's only July, but there's no time like the present to start on Christmas. It'll be here before we know it. So the Best Year bundle includes the stamp set with all the pretty sentiments on it. We're going to be using this Warm Wishes tonight. Warm Wishes for a Happy Christmas. And the bundle also includes this 2-die set that has the plaid builder dies. Now with these 2 dies you can build any plaid that you'd like. So what I've done is I've chosen the Christmas colors of Garden Green, Real Red, and then I threw in some Midnight Misty Moonlight cardstock as well. So what we're going to need to make that card tonight, I went ahead and pre-cut a lot of it. The card base is going to be the Bumblebee paper, the new in color, and then just a 3 3/4 by 5-inch piece of Whisper white cardstock. I've already gone ahead and with this die I've cut out in Garden Green 1 piece of the plaid. Now when I cut the paper to run through the embossing machine or the die cut machine, I use a piece that's 6 inches by 4.5 inches. That gives me a little bit extra on both sides, and you'll understand why towards the end of this video, because you end up with quite a bit of scrap and I don't like throwing that away, so we will be using some of that scrap tonight. I'm going to go ahead and very first thing stamp my sentiment and get the little stuff out of the way real quick. I'm using Real Red for the sentiment, stamping that on Whisper White, and I'm going to go ahead and add the Misty Moonlight bow to that with a glue dot, or maybe 2. Okay. Just right down here at the bottom. This little die cut piece I cut out from the Tasteful Labels dies, and if you can see, we use this one right here. All right, to cut that out. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and add some dimensionals to the back of that, and then that'll be waiting in the wings when we get the plaid piece put on. Okay. So to build the plaid, what I've done is I've cut the Real Red and the Misty Moonlight pieces out, as well as the Garden Green, and I'm going to go ahead and use the small piece. It's 5 by 3 3/4, and I'm just going to put a few dots of, well, actually some runs of Tombow glue. And I like using Tombow on this card because it gives you a little wiggle room, and when you're building plaid you may want to move it around just a little bit. Okay, and then I'm just going to put that right here in the center, as close as I can get to the center. okay? And that's the base that you will start with. Then I want to come in next with this green layer, and if you'll notice right here in these corners of these big boxes, there's just a little piece or a little square, and I want to get all those little squares. I have to pick this up. I want to get all those little squares about equal distance. If you can see that right here in the corners. All right, so with this one, I'm just gonna put the Tombow on the solid squares. And some of this is gonna stick out, so you have to get all the way to the edges. All right, again, trying to line it up. So that you have just that little square of the green in each one of those boxes. If you can see that there. Okay. And then finally we're going to come back and adhere the red. And you see how very, very little glue I'm using, because if you use too much, it's gonna really make a mess when it squishes out the side and all. So you want to just put a very fine line on there. Now with this one, I want this to line up so that the bottom has just a very tiny square in it. Oops. The bottom by the red, okay, has just a little square. And you can see that all along. Okay, and that builds your plaid. Now, if you turn it over, you'll see that what you need for on the card front. So that's when I bring my trimmer in. And I want to line up the white on the cut line and go ahead and cut through that. Oops. Do you hear me say oops? I say that a lot, and that's the main reason why I'm not a surgeon. I didn't think I could afford to do that and say oops, especially if the patient was awake. It wouldn't be a good thing. And I don't call myself the stamp doctor either, because yeah, not with all the oopses that I do. Okay, so you see it didn't matter that the plaid was very uneven on all the edges, because we're just going to cut that off. And what we end up with is the front of the card looking like that. Okay. So it's as easy as that, ladies. Now, when I cut the two, the red and the blue pieces for the plaid, it left me with kind of a sizable scrap that I really didn't want to discard. So looking at it, and I'll let you see what it gives you, I decided I could make another card with that. Okay, just 3 dimensionals, and this can go down in the bottom. And voila, you have a Christmas card ready to go. So let me show you that by cutting your piece at 6 by 4.5, you have about 1/8 of an inch over here, and probably not quite 1/8, maybe a 1/16 on the far ends. But that's quite a bit of paper to be throwing away. So I got out a 4 1/4 by 5.5, the size of a regular card front, and I went ahead and glued that scrap to the front, okay? And then I did the very same thing. I flipped it over and cut the edges off, but this made my card front. And then I pulled out the stitched rectangles to see, and sure enough, the 1, 2, 3, 4th stitched rectangle fits perfectly inside there. Okay, so now I just had to decorate this one little piece to make a card. So the first one that I did used the Basket of Blooms set, and you can see that I had to fussy cut the basket, but that wasn't hard at all. The flowers were cut with punch and a little bit of stamping, and I have a very nice Get Well card. I did a second one using the Misty Moonlight, and this one I used the Arranger Wreath, which really nice set. Cut this out, and I used a bone folder just a little bit, and then all of these were cut out of the Arranger Wreath dies as well. Okay, so this is a way to not throw away your scrap. And so what I have for you tomorrow, if you want to come back, is another Christmas card, but this time I did it with the scraps instead of cutting some more cardstock. So I hope you enjoyed the tricks and tips that I had for you tonight, and I hope you'll come back and see me again. Thanks for stopping by. Bye-bye.